Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Spears and Steinberg podcast. Right here with Spears.
How y'all feel out there?
What time is it? Game time. Doo-doo. 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 Y'all, I want to thank my man. He actually sent me a DM, and told me about this. Because he was like, Aries, I know you guys are in the documentaries. You got to check out this documentary. Folks, this is a good one.
Who was it?
I don't remember his name. What is it called officially?
I don't know.
Do you remember?
No, but it's on your iPad.
Yeah, it's on my iPad. Did you cut it off?
It should still be on there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. All right, let me bring this up real quick. It is called Crime Scene, the Times Square Killer. And it's in the same vein of Night Stalker, only I think Night Stalker was like 6 episodes or something.
Yeah, it was more episodes. And I thought this was better.
Yeah. And we'll get to that immediately. This is only 3 episodes, 40 minutes an episode. Why'd you think this was better?
Because this used Times Square as I thought was the main character.
Interesting.
Because that way it brings you into what's happening.
Right.
As opposed to where the Richard Ramirez one was all about.
Richard Ramirez?
Yeah, you're kind of looking through a window. The other one brings you into Times Square where you're part of, you're around it.
Right.
I just felt it had a different effect, and it's easier to get into it when it's giving you more of the landscape of the situation. Where Ramirez was just like, we have to deal with this mental fuck.
Right.
This is still a mental person that we're dealing with. Also interesting, and I want to be able to talk our whole way through it, but because they used Times Square as one of the characters, and the murderer is still alive. This makes it interesting as well. With Ramirez, it's different
because he eventually died.
Yeah, and so you don't get the today moment of him.
Right, and I'm gonna say, Ramirez to me was just scarier. I mean, and when they showed him with those jet black eyes and the disheveled hair, he looked like what you knew he was.
Yeah, he didn't look human anymore.
Right. This dude, until you knew, you would have thought, and that's in one of my notes, the same guy that at a bar stool.
But that's scarier to me.
Really?
Yeah, because that's the dude sitting next to you on the plane, and you had a whole conversation with him.
Right.
And you can't even tell that he's a twist. As we get into it, obviously, I think this dude's more twisted than Ramirez. Ramirez was more fucked up, but this dude's twisted in a different way.
Right. The thing opens up and they talk about the first murder at the hotel, where the hotel's on fire. And then the fire guys go to the hotel.
Fire guys?
Firemen?
Yeah, firemen. I just like fire guys.
Fire guys.
I think they should change it.
Fire guys. The firemen go to the hotel, and when they open the door, they say they see the corpses on the bed. And they say the one fireman goes to give one of the bodies CPR, and then he's throwing a bat because the heads are missing and the hands are missing. So obviously there's no way to identify who these people are. And, like I said, how I feel about blood and bones and gore. Sick is sick, right? I don't know if there's degrees of sickness, of psychotic. But how fucked up are you and how evil do you have to be when you can go to decapitate someone at no point from the beginning before you fully decapitate them? Don't you stop and either throw up or just go, ooh, this is like, you just can complete that.
I can answer this now because you fucked me up last night. Here's the thing. I'm going to build you guys a scenario real quick. Aries tells me about this and says I have to watch it, wants to talk about it. I'm like, cool. He goes, Andy, it's on my iPad. I brought it. I want you to watch it as soon as possible. So last night after the show, I was done. I was tired. I'm ready to go back to the room. I got a burger from the club. I was going to go back to my room. I wasn't going to go out, do anything except go back to the room, watch this show, and eat my burger. And I tell Aries, I'm just going to go back and do that. Aries said to me, Andy, you really could eat and watch this? I go, it's a movie. I go, I know it's real, but it's just a movie. You know, I'm not.
Documentary.
Yeah, I'm not going to put it. I'm not thinking about it while I'm enjoying my burger. I'm just getting some information. I really think that I can remove myself from the two. If it was, and I said, unless it's all blood and gore where I see it happen, and it's not going to affect me that way. I mean, if I was to see a movie where they're actually chopping up people and you're seeing it, it probably would. Then it would affect me, but not a documentary. So I get back to the room and I put it on and got my burger out. I got it all ready to go. Perfect. Had everything going. Got the iPad set up and I'm starting to watch it. And I'm eating my burger and it starts off. And I didn't think they would have actual scenes from the murder, but they were filming. They filmed the coming in afterwards while they're investigating and showing it. And you could see the body on the bed after the fire, and you see the skin and the knee. And, you know, and you hear the thing about the head. I'm still eating my burger and I hadn't really put it together. You know, I'm just watching and then Aries' voice creeps into my head. You can watch this and separate the two. And then as soon as your head and I'm eating the burger, as soon as what you said got in my head, I'm eating the burger. And then I put the two together and I was like, motherfucking Aries, man, ruin my fucking brain. Because now I have to relate the two. Now I have to relate the fact that I'm eating a burger. I'm eating meat. Well, the guy and specifically talks about the head being gone. And I put my burger, I had gotten about a third of it down. And I put my burger in the thing and put it and threw it in the garbage. And I was like, fuck Aries.
Well, we're even now because I forget what it was, but you had me watch something. There was Night Stalker.
Yeah.
And I said that on the podcast. I went, motherfucking Andy. He knows I don't like this. So we're even, literally even on some sadistic shit.
Normally, though, that wouldn't have fucked me up. It was that you said it and you like put it together, and now I mean, this, and the way that they talked about the head being gone. Very key point though is the head being gone, and what you just said, and that's why I said, I could answer it. I never put those two together until you made me put those together. And I think and this is where. Why I think this guy is more twisted is because what you just said. How can you cut off the head and the arms and not get sick? And when this guy's convicted, they only convict him of a couple murders. You're not at the stage of cutting heads and hands off. If you're 2 murders in.
He moved up to black belt kung fu level of killing.
So as soon as I saw the heads and that was the first one that they found, I knew just from the little bit of, you know, stuff that we've done here on the podcast and looking at these crazy guys going mental. That isn't your opening move. That isn't the pawns coming out of the gate, right? This is someone, and you said throw up. Even if you're a killer, you still have some connection to the thing you're killing at first. And then the more you do it, the less connection you have to it. And that's like and so for him to be able to cut off hands and leave everything, the crime scene, and do what he did, you're deeper than 2. You've killed more than 2 people. So
you know, and he alluded to that. He alluded to that when he was interviewed in jail. And he goes, those are the kills that you know about. And then he goes, I used to kill women every other week for 13 years.
And then they said what that number would be.
80. Like 80. So, 80.
But that's the part where when at the beginning of this, when the police are investigating, I'm like, what there has to be a lot more, like the connection. And they never really say it, but you understand that before all the computers and the police departments and the separate agencies, they weren't communicating together. So, you know, they could have been all over. And I got to tell you, man, I shouldn't say this because it's just, Like, my brain is fucked up. And I think some weird shit sometimes. And after I saw it, I was thinking to myself, a comedian actually would be a great job for a serial killer because you travel all the time, so you wouldn't be in the same place. Now, you might not, like the first time you go there, you might not know anything about it, but by the couple times you've been here, you kind of know some areas, you know the hotel. You know how long it would take them to figure out. Now that I'm saying that, though, now the FBI is probably going to make sure that there's check my schedule.
Are you the comic killer?
Yeah. But I was thinking anybody who travels and repeats the same places that they go to, they would have that ability. So I was like, that would be a good job if you're going to be a serial killer. So, but there's a possibility. Just think about this. In all the years that you've been doing this and all the murders, you might know one comic serial killer that's been going around all this time. We don't even know. It could be in our group. It could be in our industry.
Again, this is why, in an effort to not sound repetitive, but I gotta make the point. This is why I so have a hard time sometimes believing in God. Because my thing is this. How do you kill for 13 years? At any point, if he really went, I'm done. I'm retiring. I'm not doing this anymore. He may never have gotten caught, because I believe that you can't just go on killing people and not get caught. At some point, everything comes to an end. At some point,
you're going to make a mistake.
You're going to get exactly. But to be able to go 13 fucking years, dude. And at any point in that 13-year run, if he said, yeah, I'm done. Especially when the cop early in the documentary said that this was before DNA. This was before all the cameras and technology.
7 years before DNA.
So he could have quit and lived the rest of his life, knowing that he killed all them people and nothing bad.
But
karma does not at some point go, and if it doesn't go, 13 years is a bit long. Let me stop this motherfucker at 4. 13 years.
13 years.
It's insane.
And to be honest, as you're watching it, and one of the guys that testifies against him works with him.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go too far because I like how we're doing this, but I think he wanted to get, I think he was tired of doing it. I think he wanted to get caught. I know it sounds ridiculous to say you want to get caught, but he's starting to give clues to
right. Why would you do that?
If you really wanted to get away with it, because you don't give, or you want some credit for it.
Okay, but the lady that said she interviews serial killers to get inside the mind, she goes, and one of the threads here is that these guys are cocky.
Yeah,
they're arrogant because they do get away with it and feel like they're unstoppable.
But I think you have to have some people have some idea, because God, it just sounds so fucked up to talk about it this way. But if this is your gig, if this is how you get off,
right.
If this is what, obviously you get some satisfaction out of doing this, so you couldn't do it, right? How do you not want someone to know?
Right.
How do you not want someone, because you're accomplishing.
But isn't the goal to stay out of jail?
The goal is to stay out of jail, but you're winning championships. You got to.
Jesus, Andy. Jesus, Andy.
You want someone to see your trophies,
Right.
Because he's keeping that shit.
Right.
And as we go into this, you're going to hear more about this. But if you see this documentary, first of all, highly recommend everybody watch. I think it's an easy watch.
It's an easy watch. And to go back to me going, fuck you, Andy. I remember when I said this, I remember when I started watching Night Stalker. This is the kind of shit that makes me, but dude, it's like a great fucking novel. It's like a fat bitch who's at home eating ice cream, petting her cat, reading a great novel. It sucks you in.
But the story is told really, it's not, this story, as much as it is about the murder, it's also about that moment in time and Times Square.
Right.
Like I said, that's what made it easier to watch, because when they're talking about Times Square and they're talking about the area of the Deuce and what's going on, I mean, that's, and as we said, we both had a connection to that time period of New York. I went there in the 80s. I was a little late because that was 70s. all the way into the 80s when it started to end. But we were both there, and there's a connection to that.
But you got to enjoy it at least on an adult level.
Yeah, I did.
So even though I don't know, I'm assuming you didn't get into the seediness of it, but you still were an adult walking the streets.
And you saw it. But one of the things I was saying that I wanted to say for the podcast to tell you is I wasn't going in there for the peep shows. There was the peep shows. There was still some of that when I went out there. The people that are out on the front, the barkers, the guys trying to get you in, the people, the seediness.
The solicitors?
Yeah, that are out in front of the...
Right.
These are interesting characters. The people that you watch going in and out of these places, interesting characters. And when I used to go to New York when I was young, I never took a subway or a taxi. I walked the streets because everywhere you walked in New York, especially in those areas, it was a show. Man, there was something to see. Area was, and you had to be careful. You had to know what you were doing and where you were at. You couldn't look like a tourist. Right. I went there with this girl one time, not to Times Square, but I was in, I think we were walking around Brooklyn, and we got off on the wrong place. And there was like actually a trash can. And it wasn't a trash can, but like an oil can with a fire in it, and some people standing around on it. It was an area that wasn't pleasant. She pulled out her map because we were lost. I go, put your fucking map away. We are not lost.
And that's exactly how you say that. Your fucking map away. Like, bitch, do you know where we are?
Yeah. You don't. The reason you're pulling the map out is because you don't know where we are, but we don't want everybody else to know that we don't know where we fucking are.
Right.
And she's like putting out a red flag, and I'm like, dude, put that fucking away. She goes, well, we don't. I go, I know where we are. We're lost. That's where we are.
Right.
Now, our goal is to get back to somewhere else before everybody else figures out we're fucking lost.
Right.
So, but that area, the seediness, walking around, the characters, and I think that's what really brought me into this is because that's what they're talking about. And it was such an interesting time. Honestly, and they talk about it a little bit. It isn't a place that should be. Times Square at that time isn't a place that you want to put and put up on this greatness. But there's something missing from that time that was amazing about that time. And even though it was rough, but the grittiness of it and the freedom of it gave you characters that we'll never see again. And that's kind of amazing. That's missed.
Well, when they talk about what it is now, corporate Disneyland, it's so touristy but it's always been a magnet because of the lights, the nighttime. Yeah, even when they go back to the 20s and 30s, it was always that.
That's where you went and saw shows. The peep shows are right across from the grand musicals and stage performances that are going on.
Right.
So, and they're all in the same area, which causes some other issues.
Right. But the thing is, and as I said to Andy last night, if we were to come up right now, like Neri just had a baby girl. Like, let's say she was born in New York, and she experiences New York Times Square now. She don't know nothing but what it is now. Again, I'm a little envious of you because you, at least as an adult, got to go into the boogie land a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't. I was a child. But I remember walking with my dad up and down Times Square. And like I said, there was the porno theaters. They had the TVs outside showing you a preview with a porno. I remember when we would walk over, 42nd Street, 8th Avenue, maybe 7th Avenue, one block over where Port Authority was. Right there was all the 25 cent. You put the quarter in. Matter of fact, I was, I'll go back. Still, you caught it in its prime. I was 18 and went into the booth and put the quarter in. And I remember when the thing slid up, there was a black woman, and this is at the time when women didn't shave their cooch just yet. Hairy pussy was hairy as a motherfucker. The bush. But so I tasted a little bit of Times Square when it was that, but not like you did. And I remember telling this story. I remember I ran away from home when we lived on 433 West 34th Street on 7th Avenue. And I remember I called myself running away from home, and I stole some money from my dad, a couple $100. And I went to Times Square. And this is back when, and see, this is what I'm talking about. Because certainly this shit don't exist no more. When you say characters, there were dudes on the street hustlers, conning motherfuckers for their money. And one of the games they would play is 3-card Monte.
Which they still play, but they run away. It's not as much because the police will break it up now.
Quick. I haven't seen one since, but yeah, it's the dude with the box and he's shuffling the cards. And if you pick the right card, you win. If you don't, you lose. And this is how naive and young I was. They had the people around there, and they were working together.
Right.
I didn't know that. So when one person would win, which of course was set up that way, I just took the whole 200 and, bam. And when I lost all that money, I was damn near crying. And the dude saw I was a teenager kid. And he said, hey, man, I'm going to give you $20 back. And he gave me $20 back and then get the fuck on. And took my money. So that was a little bit of that seediness.
Yeah.
But I guess, the part where I would have loved to have ventured a little bit, especially as a young adolescent or a young teen, AKA young man coming into your sexual prowess, is, dude, they had all them fucking sex houses. And they had places, and I remember when I went to Amsterdam, and they have today places where you can see people fuck on stage. And I thought to myself, at that moment when I was in Amsterdam, damn, in America, we're supposed to be the coolest country in the world. But yet we don't even have this. We had it.
But America comes with freedom. And this freedom,
right,
when you allow, and listen, this is a really fine line. Let me put it to you in a different way so that I can explain it the way that I want to say it. COVID right now, we're testing freedoms. Should you do this? Should you do that? You know what they do in China, right?
No.
They just lock you down.
Oh, yeah, lock your door and keep you inside.
They'll fucking nail your doors shut. They don't want you coming.
Right.
What's best is best. You have COVID, you're in there. Someone may or may not drop you off some food.
Right.
We'll see you later.
Right.
Hope you make it.
Right.
Here, we have a discussion. There's your rights. So when you have it, and the guy who was running it, the main guy, which was very interesting. He's also a character in this, and it makes it very interesting that he's expanding this, but he's expanding and expanding. And in that expansion, he's creating more and more of a seedy atmosphere that's attracting more and more crime. And the more that this happens, if you don't control it, if you don't put it in an area, you could have controlled it if you would have put it in a couple square blocks and said, This is what it is. But no, we're going to have a lawsuit because I should be able to do this, or I should be. So, yes, we're free, but we're free to fuck our shit up, too, when we don't want to put any controls on shit because we want to exercise our freedoms. We need both. There's a balance, but that's what happened.
Like when they showed a black and white photo of the dude fucking the girl and the missionary, and her legs are up over his shoulders. And he said, there would be some guys in there, and you saw them in the photos who were shielding their faces from the camera. And he goes, but then there was some dudes who were like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
I watch niggas fuck. And I'm just like, and the younger you are, and one guy said it, he goes, it was the naughtiness. It felt like something you weren't supposed to do. So as a young dude, if I would have had access to that, I'd have been like, that might have really fucked me up.
No, and I think it does because, like I said, the characters, the guys who worked out in front, the guys who were trying to bring people in, there's a noticeable difference between people who work in that industry, especially at that time, which it was. I mean, porn today, there's seediness to it.
Yeah.
But it's mainstream. It's not.
Oh, it's very corporate.
Yeah. But back then, it was different kind of cats that were running this, I'll tell you this. I think this is funny, but it may not be. There was a period where I had a job and I was working for a guy selling restaurant products. So just tinfoil, saran wrap, certain things that you needed for restaurants or hotels or whatever. We're ordering some supplies. It's a supply company. And one of our big accounts was this place called, I don't know if it's still there. It was called Empress Theater. It was in Tucson. And they used to order like all these Kleenexes from us, like a big order every month of Kleenex. And I wasn't even really aware what it was for. I kind of knew, but I kind of didn't. I was young. I was right out of high school. I was trying to go to college and I'm working this job, just trying to make some extra money. And I'm dropping these off, right? And it's, I don't know how many cases. It was a lot though. And they raised the price of each box 10 cents. But because there's like 36 I think, boxes in each case. That's $3.60 per box. And then there was like maybe 20 boxes. So it was, it was a little bit of money. And I remember going to see the guy, and he was the owner. He was, and you expect a perfect, but he wasn't. There was something different about him. And he was the owner of a porn, this porn places, but they called it a bookstore, but they had quarters.
Right.
And he goes, man, they raised the price. He goes, that's, can you call them? And actually I called and I put him on the phone. He goes, no, they raised the price. And he goes, you know what? Just take these back. These guys are going to have to figure out how to clean up after themselves. And so there's no more Kleenex in these booths. The guys have to figure out how to fucking handle it. They bring their own Kleenex or whatever they're going to do. Just a different mentality, man. There's a different mentality when it's just about fucking.
I want to go back to one of the things they said about the Times Square situation. They said at one point the police would put up a picture that was basically a warning about what New Yorkers should and shouldn't do.
Fear something. And they had a picture of death with the sickle. And it said, I remember it said, stay in Manhattan. If you go to Times Square, don't do this. Don't do it. They were literally telling you, you go get killed over there. Well, you're going to get killed. You're going to get pickpockets. You're going to get robbed. Everything could happen in New York.
And, obviously crime was such a big, big fucking deal. But then, 79, 80s or 1980, of course, the introduction of HIV and AIDS.
Yeah.
So between the crime, AIDS, and that seedy world, that shit finally got shut down.
Well, they were starting to shut it down even before AIDS, but AIDS did knock it out. And they talk about that in there. Crime was going to definitely be a problem. But remember, this is the 70s. Unemployment is through the roof, so people can't get jobs. So robbing people, and so that's a job now because you don't have any money.
Right.
So robbing people, pickpocketing, all that stuff that's going to go on there, and straight up hustling people. So that's what's happening. That's when this is happening in Times Square. That's what makes this again. And if you have never spent a lot of time in New York or don't or spent time recently since it's been Disneyfied, and it is Disneyfied. That is what it is. Disney owns a lot of that property. If you haven't experienced that in New York, watch this. Even if you don't care about the killing, the serial killing, watch it. It gives you a really interesting look at New York at that time.
Right. And again, they go back as far as the 20s.
Yeah.
And, when they said when women were selling pussy, they didn't, like back in the 70s and the early 80s, they'd be out on the street. But back in the 20s, I guess that would have been too whorish. So they would just lean out the windows, put a leg out the window. And that was the sign of, if you want some pussy, come get it.
And by the way, when we talk about male gaze, when we talked about on last week's podcast and mentioned it, the first business ever created in the world was between those legs.
Well, of course it was, Andy. Brett Butler here. The 20s. What a glorious time. When men wanted snatch, all the women did was put their leg out and you could get a whiff of the cooch and a nice winter's breeze. And then you would say to yourself, I don't need to eat this coffee and donuts when I can go up there and bury my face in a bush and look like one of the white men that stormed the Capitol. Oh, it was a glorious time, Andy. The 1920s. Pussy has been being sold since the beginning of time. Back then, it was only 5 cents to get a lick. Now, it's $500. Either way, the taste is the same. Brett Butler, yeah?
You spent $500?
Who, me?
Oh. You said $500? That's a lot of money.
Nigga, I've spent... Come on, man. Look who you talking to. That's a sale, nigga. $500. Dude, back to this guy.
So that's the first real blip that he's on the screen that they're looking for.
Right. And then, oh God, one of the second murders, and he seemed to, his thing at first was hotels. Well, they were all hotels basically, but he would set it on fire. He would do the murder and then set the hotel room on fire. And the one that really fucked me up was the second one, where he was described as cutting the woman's breasts off and putting them up on a mantle. Jesus Christ. I want to say something real quick. And I say this with all due respect. So to all our female listeners, you know, some of y'all, Shannon, Cece, Shamor, Farrah, our girl, AB. And, you know, this is right. I know she knows. I don't mean to insult y'all, but I have to say this way. Being a woman is only a upgrade from being a child. Because the shit y'all can potentially endure, you know, or you do endure pregnancy, fucking menopause, hot flashes, potential rape victims. Being a woman, I hope I never come back in any life as a woman, because y'all have to endure, like, really, unless you have a gun and you know how to use it. If a big, strong dude physically, you're like children, you're basically defenseless. You're defenseless. Unless you just know martial arts and you like a Ronda Rousey, you're defenseless. And also, like children, you're very volatile and make very little sense.
No, but it goes with women and children on board. There is a connection because of the protection idea of who you protect.
Right.
Because, and I'm not saying today, there are women who can definitely defend and take care of themselves. But if you get someone that is of size and of strength, it's not, that is, I understand that part of when women talk about men and what they have. I understand that part. That makes sense to me. But we got to redefine this conversation. But anyway, let's.
Well, no, but it goes to Dave Chappelle's great point on the special he did in the Belly Room when he described having done a show for drug dealers, and he was paid $20,000 in cash, and he's on the subway with a backpack with $20,000 in it, and he said, "Man, if some of these niggas here knew what I had in this bag," and he goes on to say, "I think that's what it's like being a woman. You have something that everybody wants." And I mean, you know, depending on how bad some dudes want it, some dudes cross that line. So just the threat of, you know, look, the dude obviously went after streetwalkers, but like you said, he didn't start out with that. When they go back and show his earlier kills, they weren't streetworkers.
No.
They were just teenage girls.
They were in his gaze. He could see them,
right,
what he was doing.
But if you're a street worker or a woman in an already dangerous atmosphere like that, and now the word is out, yo, there's this motherfucker biting women in the titty and cutting their breasts off and putting it on mantles and killing women and beheading bitches. Jesus. I would think that would be enough to make you go, oh, I got to retire for a little bit until they catch this motherfucker. Well, but they don't.
Well, they say like the women would check on each other. They would make sure that they were coming back. Yeah, there is some camaraderie in that business where you had to make sure everybody was okay because that's how they were making their living. And I think the show on HBO, The Deuce, was just about to get there in this because that's when they started having women having problems with. Well, they always showed them having problems, but where the danger part was creeping in and they were worried about being taken away and killed. So I think The Deuce was going to get there on HBO.
Speaking of which, when they mention it in the documentary, I, up until that point, thought The Deuce was just a show on HBO that they came up with and called it The Deuce. I didn't know that it was a real...
Yeah, I didn't know what area it was, but then they say that The Deuce was represented 42nd Street and 7th Avenue.
8th Avenue.
Between 7th and 8th Avenue was the area. So I knew that it existed. I didn't know the specific area. But I also think it's interesting that in there, the one writer says what he defined was Times Square, but there is no actual definition of what Times Square is. The actual area.
What you mean,
okay. Yeah, it's
like a perimeter.
Yeah, but it's interpreted differently by other people. So
Right.
I thought that was kind of interesting. I didn't realize that Times Square was kind of, but I guess that's the same way with Chelsea and the other areas that, make up certain people. Always,
Right.
I mean, what Soho is because it's south of Hudson. That makes sense. But the rest of the areas.
Yeah, I don't even know how, if you know, and I don't even think you need to know that a threat is looming or there's a situation. If you're going to be out in the streets in New York and you're a woman in that business, why not carry a gun?
But yeah, that would make sense.
Just
too.
why not?
But that's why these women had pimps, because the pimps were the ones that were supposed to be their protection. And if someone didn't pay or someone beat them, the pimp was supposed to take care of them. That was their protection. That was their paid protection.
Yeah, but often the pimps weren't with them during the moment.
Yeah, that's true. But that's
like having a gun in a different room while you fucking across town.
That's what's scary about when we get back into this. There was a pimp and his girl that went to the police. If you're a pimp that you go into the police, there's something very,
right.
This is past what you are willing to deal with.
And of course they made the point that, sex workers couldn't really go to the police because you took a risk on being arrested.
Right. But now the pimp and his girl are going to the police. This is how, that's why I'm saying this guy's scarier to me. And he looks like Santa Claus now.
Oh, dude, look. 2009, that motherfucker was Santa Claus.
Yeah. He's going to come down your chimney.
Dude. And then, of course, he took his killings to Jersey, too.
Well, and then you find out. That's funny. The Bananas Comedy Club. Bananas that's at Hasbrook Heights.
Oh, is it really?
That's where he.
Oh, wow.
That's where the Bananas is. It was. I think it's going back there, but that's where it is. That's where. And then they start to put that together. They're starting to put that together. It's just amazing. Again, how before really the advent of computers and this connection, you could it's going to be harder and harder as we go on, obviously, to commit crimes. I'm not advocating, for committing crimes. I'm saying that it's going to be almost impossible for anybody to get away with anything these days. Between cameras, DNA, and the way that you can communicate now, you could probably do whatever you wanted to do as a person. Just go to a different state, a few states away,
right.
And it was like they weren't going to find you.
Not that of course, this would never happen, but who knows? If life had advanced and technology could do like the Minority Report and know that you would commit a crime before you do it, and therefore they could arrest you, good or bad thing? I would imagine you'd have to say good.
I'd say that it's kind of bad. Because of free will, you have to let. If God gives you,
that means you're condoning somebody being killed.
No, but if God gives you free will, then you have to have free will. You're taking away free will because you're saying the Minority Report was proven not in that movie is proven not to be right. Did you ever see Clockwork Orange?
No.
Even though this guy's a bad guy, they come up with a way that you won't do any bad things, but you got to be able to give people free will. That's what it was about. If people can't do what you have to allow humanity to have free will. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. I know that I wouldn't want to be absent of my free will, but I'm not trying to kill anybody.
Right.
I don't know that you can.
But in the sake of preserving life, how could you vote against it?
Because as you watch Minority Report, there is no way to remove free will, and you can't get it right all the time.
It was a creepy moment and the guy worked for a computer company. His name was Richard Cottingham, right?
Yeah.
The guy works for a computer company. And during the murder where the two women were decapitated with their hands in their head, the one guy says he reads it in the paper and he slams the paper down and he goes, "What sick son of a bitch could do this?" And the guy, Cottingham, who worked with him, he looks at me, shakes his head, he goes, "You never know. Could be you, could be me." That is, wow.
Well, again, and going back to free will, the idea of free will, have you not ever thought about, were you mad and angry?
Murder?
I could kill this person.
Yeah, that's a natural, yeah.
But in a place where you wouldn't be even able to have those thoughts, That's removing you wouldn't be able to live your life if you weren't able to at least think it.
Dude, I'm going to tell you, it's fascinating to a point where it's like, yeah, what? Because to simply just brush it off as, they're fucking sickos. But you go, what really goes on in the mind of someone like this? Where it's like this, look, man, if I truly got off on beating off till I come using peanut butter, as weird as that is, as funny as that may be, nobody's getting hurt. No lives are being taken. When you have a thing where that does something for you, yes, we all say that sick, fucking psycho. But what is it though? What's happening in the mind that you are wired where you get off or you think that's okay? Or you're just sick. Is that what it is? You're just sick.
I don't know, but that's, again, why this guy is scarier to me than Ramirez was. Because Ramirez, when I looked at him, I didn't feel a connection to him at all because he looked like he was no longer here. He didn't look human. His eyes were black. He looked like his soul was sold and he was gone. Like
Right.
that was just some other entity doing what it did.
Right.
This dude has a family.
Right.
He goes home, kisses his wife,
Honey, I'm home. What's for dinner?
lives a life, and on the side, he's putting breast on the mantle.
Right.
That's scary to me because that guy lives next to you.
And what's really weird, though, is that, yeah, he is married. He is going home. And for whatever this thing is that gets him off on doing this to complete stranger women, like women that are strangers, does he never go home and think, I'm going to do this to the wife who probably nags me and gets on my nerves and who pisses me off? No. So how do you make that disconnection?
Don't know. You'd have to have Santa Claus there.
And I was expecting them in the documentary to say, yeah, he was locked up, convicted, and then this year he died. And then when they show that he didn't die, 2009, he goes to do the interview, and I'm going there. I said the same shit. This motherfucker look like Santa Claus.
Looks exactly like
Full white beard, white hair.
that white big mustache. Everything.
Yes, was Santa Claus. But what's fucking me up is I'm going, as he's doing the interview, and I would imagine this is what most sickos, until they reveal the sick part of them, you can't tell. And my whole thing is, to me, when you hear of such heinous, monstrous acts, you almost want to believe that they're really monsters. Like, there's a way that they talk. They're crazy. Rawr, monsters. But when a guy just goes, yeah, and blah, 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 and I'm talking normal, and I'm talking to you like I'm a guy sitting on a bar stool or your neighbor, hey, how's the weather? I'm going, what the fuck is wrong with you that you can appear to be that normal, but then click?
And that's the thing that's again what makes him scary to me. Who do you think is more feared in prison? The big broad motherfucker,
Or the quiet motherfucker
that killed whatever amount of people,
Right.
and
Right.
yeah, that guy might kick your ass, that guy might beat you, but this other dude's going to figure out a way
to eat all your toes.
It's weird.
That's insane, man. And even when they, which I really don't understand, when they caught him in Jersey, they said he had $300,000 bail. Now, obviously, he couldn't afford it. How do you give someone like that bail?
I don't know, because you don't have to give someone bail if you don't. But usually there is a dollar amount set. But Jesus, I don't know why you would let someone out again. And the police, the judges, maybe at that time they didn't understand. You don't start off with decapitating
Right.
people. So, you're standing in front of him. He decapitated these people. I'm like going, okay, there's a trail we haven't found yet. That's what I would be thinking. I can't let this guy out but yeah, you get bail. Man, the other thing about this that's very odd, this documentary, is one of the lead people that you talk to that is talking and doing the narration, describing what's happened, is one of the dead sex workers, the first from the decapitating, her daughter that she never met because she gave her up for adoption. Right. So this girl wanted to meet her mom, found out where she was adopted from, had information on her mom, came to get that information and found out about this story. And she's the one that provides a lot of the information that you go through this. That is such a weird connection, and why, again, this is riveting, because you're experiencing this from someone who was actually touched by this event, this man, this person who did these heinous acts. You're not just getting this from a cop or a reporter or something. You got someone who's connected biologically in a way to this.
To be more specific, what I thought was kind of odd was when she goes, she said, now maybe, yes, there's an initial, I want to go see this dude, talk to this dude. Maybe it gives me closure. He answers questions once. But she goes, basically, we maintained a relationship. There were visits. I would go see him. And she acknowledged, yeah, we're not friends. And he's done some horrible things. But I'm looking at this going, I don't know that I believe you. Well, you seem like you like y'all, you like this motherfucker a little bit for whatever reason.
I think people want to know why people done things, and I think she was cooperating with the police a little bit to try to find out some of the other people.
Right.
So I think the reason she met with him, from what I gathered, from what I watched, is that she was getting some closure by being able to find out the other victims, and because the connection to her mom has to be something, but she never met her mom. She didn't grow up with her mom. She didn't live with her mom. She didn't know her mom. So the connection isn't as strong as it would be if this was her mom and they were walking down the street and mom disappeared and then she was decapitated. This is someone that found out about it after the fact. So she has to be able to bring light to other people's situation is part of her healing through this. I think I would think that you would do that because you would want, if he's giving you that information, you're one of the few people that can get it. You're actually providing something for others that are in this similar situation as you.
This is a personal question. Can someone like that be forgiven?
Well, not by me, but the idea is...
And not by me either.
The idea is you're supposed to be able to be forgiven.
And there are people who can and will.
Yeah, I don't think that... I think that there's I think you only have to forgive humans. And I think there's a loss of humanity when you're able to do something like that.
When you're cutting breasts off and decapitating people. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I have a list of people that I don't think need to be forgiven. I think their humanity is gone.
I'm telling you, man, and I know this, you would see this in the movies. And I know that because in terms of humanity and all of that shit, it would never happen. But I think it's fair. Again, I hate hunters. You're killing animals. And in some places, obviously, in Africa, some of it's banned. But just as easily here, you can go shoot ducks out the sky or deer. I say, fuck that. You want to use guns? Come on, man. Let the animals live. Take the serial killers and the sickos, put them on an island, give them some weapons so it can kind of be a fair fight, and let the hunters kill them.
Yeah, but see, there's pieces that you're missing in that. Like when you talk about deer, if you don't let people hunt deer, and there's
overpopulation, right?
And there's a lot of problems with the deer, and they starve to death, and they're done. It causes problems. There is still some necessity for hunting. But when you talk about like going to Africa and you see big game hunters, that's the licenses are expensive and very minimal because they don't want that many to be killed, or they don't need any to be killed. There's a difference when you're hunting for that and when you're hunting as part of population control or those deers need to.
They need to go.
Well, when you overpopulate too, and in areas that we live, that's when you get when there's too many of them, they're running across the street and they're killing people because you're in the car and the deer's flying into your car. And listen, the road, maybe there's people going to say, well, the road shouldn't be there. That's where the deers live.
Right.
Now you live there too, and the deers are overpopulating. But then when you say that, I love that you that brains should be able to do this. I say that, and I believe what I just said. On the other hand, Thanos, the idea was in the movie is overpopulation, and you have to take care of overpopulation, or you have too many. You know, there's only so much so many people that you can have. So is that advocating the same thing? Are we really? When I say that about deers, could someone say that about us? Then could there be another level of nefarious goings on in this world? And then that's when someone says, well, you could release a virus.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that that's what COVID is. I'm just saying, as much as I believe
it's a conspiracy theory, right?
Yeah. As much as what I'm saying I believe in, and I do think that there's certain animals that do need to be hunted. That's why they put out a limit on what you're supposed to get. But you need to take care of that population control. Well, we could easily be put in that same conversation. So it's hard for me because if you just think. Right. Just don't stop thinking when you get your answer. Just continue to think. Right. And maybe some people will understand that that's why I say some of the things I do, because I'm continuing to think and redo my thoughts and move through things. This is what you get. I gotta tip my hat to the maid in Jersey who had the ability to discover the body by vacuuming and hitting it under the bed, but then still keeping that job. So she could hear another woman scream. Well, what's amazing about that too, you got to keep your shit together too. She did all the right stuff. But can you imagine being there? And I mean, I don't know, what would you? I would think that you'd just put your hands in the door and start pulling the door and going, help. Dude, I was watching that, and I'm like, if you do it quick enough, excuse me, you can't. Yank the door open and run like you know. And of course, he was standing behind it, looking at her to make sure she didn't do nothing. And she gave the cutthroat signal with her hand to the maid. And I think they showed that's when he closed the door. Yeah. But when you crack that door open, go for it. Yeah, I would think. But you've been beaten, and you're close to death. You don't know what. So you think that fear just numbs you? Yeah. I would think, okay, well, glass half full, half empty, but it also shouldn't motivate you? It can motivate you, but then you also go for hope. I hope she sees this. I hope someone comes to save me. I hope someone... Versus, fuck that, let me take my chances, roll the dice, and try to get this door open. And at worst case, if he tries to stop me, there's the struggle, there's the maid there now. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's the one... I think I would have taken, but when you've been beaten or when you've been you're captive now, and he's telling you to do something, he seems to be in control. You kind of lose your will because he has all the control. Right. So he tells you to do something. I mean, listen, that's it. When we talk about that's the same thing a pimp does, though. He takes away your control. He puts you in a situation where he's in control, and you feel that he has the say in what you do. That's basically the same thing that he's doing. All right, last point. I'm going to get racial for a minute. You'd be crazy to think that it didn't exist, but you so seldomly to never hear these stories. Because what's the common thing? Serial killers are mostly middle-aged white guys, and it seems like their prey is white women. I'm like, damn, he didn't hunt no black women? None. So if you were a black woman at that time, you were safe. But I got to believe, there are no black women that, first of all, I think on record, or from what I've heard, 2 black serial killers. The one dude from the Atlanta child murders, and I forget the other one. But really, serial killing ain't a black man's thing. But, okay, but there are no black women. Where's the news? Where's these stories? Okay, so this is the other side of that. Is there no really black serial killers, or has no one just given a shit? Black women are killed. Well, we know that Greta Van Susteren, that's the name who I couldn't think of before, and Nancy Grace, they don't ever cover that. They don't ever talk about that. So I'm not trying to say there is or there isn't. I'm just saying, when you say that he didn't, black women were safe, were they? Or they just didn't get covered in the fact that, oh, well, there's a black woman, she's dead, she's a prostitute. Okay.
So you're saying that maybe he did fuck with black women, they just didn't give it the attention.
Just put it in the file, dead black woman prostitute. Do we got that file? Yeah, it's that one over there. Is it in the case? No, you just throw it up there, put the paperweight on top of it.
Wow.
You going to disagree with that or agree with that?
No, I'm listen, we know that media coverage doesn't give equal coverage. So just to think that that's not within the realm of possibility would be insane.
So by that same thing, if you had a black serial killer,
but
who was only killing black women,
but goddamn, when you're a serial killer and you got that many bodies, at some point, how do you not give that attention?
It only takes 2 to be a serial killer. Now, to be a good serial killer, I think it takes 5.
Listen, when I devour a whole box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch in one sitting, that makes me a serial killer. All right.
No, but that's all, that's someone who is satisfying a killer's urge, killing multiple people. I mean, you go on a rampage, that's different from a serial killer planning, killing people. I'm not saying there is or there isn't. I'm just saying by the way that crime and punishment has been investigated in America, it is possible that there could be others, but you wouldn't know because it would just be filed under black.
Them niggas aren't important. You know them niggas aren't important. File that shit under don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about niggas. You know that.
Well, if you say that the most protected people in America are white women, right? So even on the bottom of that list would be a white sex worker, right? But then there has to be that's the end. Then it becomes black women.
Let me tell you something. They bury dead white women on top of dead black women. That's how much they don't give a shit.
Only Paul Moody could say that. But I'm not trying to say that there are. It's not like I'm trying to. I'm just saying. Do you know? Do we know? I mean, I'm still waiting for the Wild West. There's black dudes in the Wild West that are gunslingers. Yeah. Where's the stories?
Well, no, but we've seen on a lower level movies like Posse, on a higher level like Harder They Fall, right? The one with Regina King. Yeah. So, but we've seen.
You see, but where is the history of it?
Right.
So I'm just saying, I don't think. Listen, I'm not like asking for equal. I'm just saying I don't know, and I'm saying it's not. I don't think that it has been investigated that way, and I'm not
like even on the lower level of fucked up shit, we still are at the bottom.
Well, I would like to think that that's changing, but we want
to be equally known for killing. Jesus.
But I think if they could, but to the other side of the same case, if they could put it on a black dude, especially back then, they would have.
Right.
So there's two sides to that.
Right.
Are there, or are there not? Maybe not, because you think that they would have loved to have been able to go, oh no, this dude did it.
1-800-BLAME a nigga. All of a sudden, my purse, my house got robbed, and stole all everything. 1-800-BLAME a nigga.
Dude, that would be the greatest skit, where it's just like it's Karen, please call.
Right, Karen, please call. If blame a nigga, Karen. All you have to do is blame a nigga, Karen. If you're having problems, if something doesn't sit right, if there's little nigglet kids selling barbecue links and chicken parts in your goddamn park, call 1-800, blame a nigga. Blame a nigga, that's what we do.
Lemonade without a license?
Lemonade without a license, blame a nigga.
Karen, call quickly.
Karen, call quickly. Call 1-800-CHICKEN. 1-800-CHICKEN. Or the backup hotline, 1-800-WATERMELON. Call those numbers and you can blame a nigga.
That's a great skit.
Yeah.
That really is a great skit.
Yeah. All right, there it is.
Check out this.
It's really an intense watch. And you know, sometimes and it's on Netflix. When I'm going through Netflix and I go to the documentary section, I see a couple of these. There's one on Ted Bundy, and I be wanting to watch him, but I'm between the squeamishness and the horrificness of that shit. I don't want to fall in love with those.
No,
but they get you.
They do, but I really like that this was 3 episodes. It was
short and sweet.
It was the right amount.
Yeah.
It got me in because it gave me New York.
Yeah.
And then it gave me...
that's why I wanted you to watch it, because I'm going, Andy's going to love this.
Yeah,
Times Square.
I loved it.
He likes this type of dark shit. He's going to love this.
I do like dark shit, but I don't necessarily like... I'm not a fan of... I'm not a serial killer fan. It's not like I've ever, like...
Right.
No, there's some people, that... Not that they're... I don't know that... I'm not going to say that they're twisted or anything, but there's some people that really are into following this shit.
There are... The same way some motherfuckers get dressed up to go see Star Wars, there are fanatics with everything.
Yes.
With everything.
Yeah.
So,
This isn't... And this, just like I was saying, it's not my thing, but this story... Like, I mean, I appreciate the Night Stalker because it gave you a lot of information, but I didn't love that. This one, I actually was like,
wow,
this is really a good
you
watch.
Say that. All right.
I love how New York is brought into it. They could have told this story without the killer. They could have told the New York story of the Deuce, really, in here.
Right.
But the killer is like kind of the way to get you through all this. It's very interesting. I love that aspect of seeing New York at that period of time. And it was actually a horrible time, economy-wise, and what people were going through. But New York, and I guess when it comes down to the bottom line, I miss a little of that seediness. I miss a little of the danger of New York. I miss that attitude that
you don't want. You don't want people get hurt and shit like that. But New York. It was. It was identified by that a little bit.
It was. You had to keep your head on a swivel. You had to know what was going on.
Put your motherfucking map away. I love that.
It freaked me out. I thought we were fucking
like, bitch, what are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah, there was just a difference. And there's something that comes from that. There's a savvy about you that when you...
That was them 70s niggas back then. Hey, look here. See that white bitch with the map out? Shit, we gonna get this motherfucker. Break this bottle. Bitch, give me your money. Yeah,
dude, I love in the Deuce on HBO the scene when they show the pimps at the bus stop because they're waiting. You can, again, you tell people who you are almost immediately, and you would see people get off on the bus that were coming out, and they had this, those dudes can see who they are,
right?
And they do talk about that and over glorifying like an Iceberg Slim at the time in the movie.
But it was what it was.
It was. All right.
And speaking of pimps, if y'all ain't aware of it, go get the movie. Go see the movie. I'm about to fuck up with Christopher Reeves and Morgan Street Smarts, where Morgan Freeman plays a pimp, and Christopher Reeves plays a reporter who's covering that kind of life. And God, it's great. Morgan Freeman. I think Morgan Freeman is in his 30s in this, but of course he looks 60.
He looked 60 until he was like 70.
Right.
Now he looks 90.
62.
No. No,
when he breaks the Yoo-Hoo bottle, that pussy belong to me, bitch. Those titties and that ass and that pussy is mine, bitch. And then Christopher Reeves, being a concerned white man, hey, what, you want some of this? Oh, it's great.
Listen, you guys, on this black don't crack thing, you guys held up for a long time.
Well, it's cracking.
With COVID. And when we saw everybody on TV when they couldn't get their hair fixed up, and then we saw the gray start coming through, everybody started looking everybody grew a little bit of age. Okay. So where we're at, is that what we want to know?
Yeah.
Okay, so we listen to this. That's going to be, listen to this on the 2nd, I think. Yes, on the 2nd. Yes. So that weekend we're going to be, guys, we're in San Jose. Improv. We're going to be there the 4th through the 6th. That following week, I am recording my album at Helium in Indy on the 9th. If you'd like to come out, tickets are cheap. I'd love the support. I need the support. So come on out. Otherwise, the 10th through the 13th, I have the 12th, but you said you thought it was through the Sunday, and they'll probably add a show anyway. Aries will be at Houston Improv with Neary. So if you're wondering who this Neary character is that you've heard us talk about on the podcast, and you've heard him on one or two of our podcasts.
Yeah, about one or two.
Yeah, you can meet Neary over at Houston. Cool dude, funny dude. So go check out Aries and Neary at the Houston Improv, where I will be still in Indy, finishing up the shows, featuring there, and getting some more recording for my album. The following week, that would be February 17th through the 20th, and like I said before, looking forward to it, the DC Improv. And then the 25th through the 27th, we'll be in Louisville at the new comedy club out there called the Louisville Comedy Club. And they're good ownership. I think it's going to be a great club. I'm very excited to do that. And I'm going to give you the first date in March because I'm excited to do this because this is brand new. This is also coming from the good guys who put together Helium, Cap City in Austin. The 3rd through the 6th, we're going to be in Austin, and that will be our first time there of the reopening of Cap City. But
yeah, I've never been to Austin.
So I'm very excited to go out there into the Joe
Another
Rogan
part
territory.
of Texas. I've been to Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Odessa, and Beaumont. So this will be at my 6th place in Texas.
But I think this is now it should be called the Austin, Texas Joe Rogan territory.
That's not his club we're doing, right?
No, but that's who he's in Austin.
Oh, okay.
Of
course we wouldn't be doing this club. He don't like me.
He's not open yet.
All right.
Give him time. Why do you say he? I don't think that he does. It's not that he likes or dislikes you. I don't think that he knows you. And I know he knows you, but I don't think he knows you as a person. I don't think that his like or dislike. You guys just don't have a relationship.
Right.
That's cordial. You can forge that relationship. Let's make that relationship when we're in Austin. Let's go find out where Joe is and say hi. I'm going out there a day early because I wanted just to go check out Austin and the comedy scene.
Maybe if my feet smell like a UFC fighter, he might like me. All right.
If you call up Russell
Peters,
yeah, and see maybe he can get you in some jiu-jitsu classes to show you how to roll.
Right. All right. Oh, and to any new listeners, if you want to email into the program about anything and give your opinions and thoughts, please, Harry Spears, 45 at Hotmail. All right. This one is called Official, and then he has the number 1, WAE. I don't know if that's Official 1, but right, it would have the 1 and then the WAE. I don't know. All right. I think it's called Official 1, the song, though. His Instagram, OFFICIAL, the number 1, WAE. There it is. I don't know why he gave me his Cash App, but there it is. And when he leaves his contact number, 267-997-6331. So if you like what you hear, hit him up, let him know. There it be. Is that it?
I think that's it.
Okay, cool.
Hey, look behind you. There could be a serial killer.
Thanks for listening to the Spears and Steinberg podcast. If you'd like to know who's responsible for this shit, it was hosted by Ari Spears and Andy Steinberg, produced by Steve Merrick and Anthony Holmes, executive producer, Big Papa, Robert Kelly, and Matt Klein-Schmidt for the Laugh Button podcast. For more information on where to find us, visit SpearsburgPod.com.